second series of the night, only the second series that Antic have played. So more stage experience for them and more entertainment for the viewers at home. A massive ask though for Fury though. Currently sat in 5th spot, 2 wins, 0 draws and a single loss. And they'll be hoping to break the deadlock as they are found tied with Antic.
It is a big ask for Fury, but this is the first time we're actually seeing Antic after their initial series, right? So perhaps a little bit fresh, perhaps a little bit not used to this stage. Obviously, that feels a bit ridiculous to say when you consider the resumes that these players have, but you do wonder whether Fury will be able to take advantage of the few more games that they've played and perhaps come in swinging.
So what would you expect, I suppose, Max, if we set the sort of stage, the scene of what an early game should look like? Where are we wanting to really try and track now?
So the most important thing here is to secure the early game for your bot lane, right? We can already see the King and Draco actually doing something pretty interesting around this mid lane here. I wonder whether they would try to look for a late invade with this Maokai towards the bot side or potentially even look at mid lane here. It looks like it's going to be the former option that they're going to go for. So this is actually a really smart invade. It's not often watered because you are sitting in that mid rush, right? No one really expects you to come from that way at 1:30 at the time that they did go. So just going to be a nice little invade. Get Swiper ahead early on. It will be spotted out though. And you have to assume, Skimmy, the fact that this Maokai isn't starting his own blue buff in this matchup kind of signals to me that they're looking for something on the other side of the map.
It seems to be the case right now, but they're going to walk in behind enemy lines and hit them with the handshake and say, can we burn any summoners? Well, we cannot, but we can get a massive HP chunk and say this bot lane was already going to be pretty rough for you. Now try and endure it without any HP and also having to sacrifice at level 2.
It's not only without any HP, it's also without your jungler, right? Because of that level 1 that Antic choose to go for, they end up map splitting, right? So Wukong is going to be forced to head towards this top side if he wants to kind of trade off the blue buffs. Otherwise, he's going to end up sacrificing and only get 3 camps for his whole clear. And you can see, this just speaks to the pedigree of these players, right? This is a pure macro decision, but it already has netted them such a huge advantage in this early game.
It certainly has. The Swiper picks up the Grump, the vision revealing that he has in fact just done that. So big decision now as to what Nox wants to do. Does he continue his path down bot or does he make the risk and go into top lane? Because as it stands right now, Roma has a monumental lead, which is going to make it hard for Chirp to assist him. But as for top lane, Tomasino can certainly do what Udyr does best.
It feels like every mid lane we've seen today has just been an absolute trade fest, right? Neither mid laner has potions, and there's only wave 3 that we've just seen completed, right? So you can see that both mids are very willing to get the pushes. Chirp actually goes to Torioma here. Nox is here too.
Getting very aggressive out, goes to decoy, instant flash to deny vision as he gets lost in that brush. And the aggression pays off quite nicely, but it does mean that that first gank nets himself a summoner.
So you trade the flash, but ultimately Nox is left in a pretty poor position, right? Because he chooses to go for that mid lane play, he's not actually able to counter invade. So this Wukong is going to just have a lot of idle time to walk around his jungle here. You can see that there is a ward in the river that will spot him if he goes to Scuttle Crab. So yes, you get a flash, but really, I do not think that's a worthy trade.
Well, yeah, it feels like that gamble of like, well, your bot lane, or rather your bot side of your jungle has already been cleared out. I need to try and catch myself back into this by getting a successful gank. You can see he's already hovering back in mid lane again, but it's on vision. They're well aware of this one. Roma is not going to fall victim to that again, and you're going to see the rest of the lanes continue to bleed. Bot lane, as to be expected, certainly is Kalista favored. I'm really curious how Nox get back into this one, because right now Swiper's having an absolute field day just farming up a treat.
Well, that's the thing. He has absolutely no priority, right? He's not able to walk into the enemy red buff because of how far behind his bot lane is. And you can see that just off the back of that level 1 play and the fact that they have priority in these lanes, it creates such a hard environment for Wukong. Wukong is a horrible champion at kind of providing any setup before level 6, right? He really needs that Cyclone to come online. So the longer you can deny it if you are the side of Antic, the happier you are.
Well, they certainly are going to try and deny it as much as they can. They know that Nox is in a bit of a hole right now, and even Zoranis is getting himself amongst it with the rank to try and steal. He'll net himself some of the minis, but ultimately they say, we're fully aware of where you are because we've taken the camps that you're looking to try and expect.
Yeah, they've taken absolutely everything, so they know where he can't be and where he can be, and even using the fact that Zoranis has that priority, crashes the wave, and then goes and wards the Kruggers as well. It's just a very hard game for this Wukong to actually get back into. You can see the King already up 20 CS and only 5 minutes into this game. They've already taken a play and are well on their way to get the second one as well. It's just complete domination in this bot lane.
Yeah, and so strong, in fact, that Draco can freely rotate, and it's not really impacting King's success in this lane, right? He can hold his own 1v2, which Not too common. Certainly is much more of an Ezreal or Jhin kind of strategy, but that just really points to the proof of how well these first 5 minutes have gone, and I suppose the level 1 strategy for them to go for that initial invade on blue.
Yeah, so they will take the Dragon as a result of their bot lane priority. However, it will be traded towards for the Void Grubs that Nox is now taking. This kind of, I guess, enables and helps him out a little bit, I guess, as the Wukong, you know, because previously you would only have the Rift Herald as Chirp tanks a Shockwave. But the addition of these Void Grubs actually provides you something to do in your idle time, right? You can see that Nox is waiting for his camps to respawn, so he's able to head down towards that objective and able to pick that up, so he's not completely wasting his time while Swiper takes that Dragon.
He's not going to be able to find a third one, however. Can pick up 2 and then recall back to base to get himself his first purchase of the game to keep pace and keep strength above all else, right? Back to base, picks up a Warhammer, a little bit of extra damage to make sure that once level 6 does come around, he can be a bit of a menace. But 2 stacks, certainly a nice start. No reveal to the rest of Antics, so they'll still be unsure as to if that full camp is ready to be taken. And I think Swiper in just a second might be able to figure that one out.
Yeah, Swiper is heading up there towards that top side of the map. Doing a decent job of just clearing his jungle, right? At this point in the game, you don't really need to make anything happen because your lanes are winning by themselves. The biggest thing you need to do is make sure that your lanes don't collapse, right? You need to make sure that this Kalista doesn't suddenly get ganked and the lane flipped on their head. But right now, you can see that all Nox wants to do is farm. He doesn't want to spare any time going towards his bot lane, because if he does, he's going to get counter juggled, he's going to lose his red and be put even further behind, right? So it's a lose-lose situation at this point because of how well Antic are playing. Yeah, and it sort of harks back to his debut when he played the game as Diego, being called a very proficient carry player and spent the majority of the game just farming. In this case, he doesn't really have a choice, which is the irony behind it all, because you certainly want to get amongst it once that Cyclone is there, but he's desperately farming to hit sticks as quickly as he can. And I suppose really at that point, you're hoping that you can find a fight that works in your favor, a skirmish around maybe an over-aggressive laner, or perhaps towards that second dragon in a few minutes' time. But as it stands right now, he's just trying to hold his own and make sure that doesn't waste any more time by trading a flash for a game that doesn't work their way. Yeah, absolutely. At this point, if you do end up wasting much more time, you are just going to be completely out of the game, right? You can already see that he's 3 camps down to Swiper, who is sitting pretty comfortable on this Maokai here on the bot side of the map. And all Swiper has to do now, he's the easiest job in the world, because he just clicks into that brush in bot lane and just waits. He waits for any potential gank that Wukong potentially could arrive and just allows his bot lane to do this. This is a Kalista with Serrated Dirk. Absolutely shreds through these squishies on the side of Fury.
Yeah, and I think Hoop has already realized that this lane is feeling a little bit doomed, a little bit despair. Doran's Blade into a Cole as he just wants to stack, he just wants to farm. He just wants to do whatever he can to sustain himself through this rough affair, because really, at the 8-minute point, Antic are looking to try and say, let's just get the first tower.
Yeah, that's looking likely. I mean, they've already gotten 3 plates. This will likely be 4, potentially after the next wave comes in and hits the turret. And now, how do you actually break this as Fury, right? What are you actually getting back on the other side of the map? You can see that this Gnar is really in no position to die. He does have that double hop available. He will have flash as well, and you've only got an Udi for gank setup, so that's not a very viable target. The only thing you could really head towards is mid lane, right? Potentially add a Shuriva Shuffle. But then you look at the HP bars, and Azir is 200 HP catching waves under his turret, so unfortunately Nox going to have to return back to farming out of necessity. Yeah, it's just a really awkward spot to be in, right? You saw him potentially look at top lane there, but you're thinking a Mega Gnar, maybe just 1v2s. It's not a fight that you'd really want to entertain. So ultimately you're going to have to settle for the Void Grubs, but he is making another entry into top lane as the Shockwave takes place in mid. Chirp jumps in for an Emperor's Divide, you'd have to imagine, but instantly regrets he gets caught by the ultimate, flashes out of that one, and then we finally catch the aftermath of top lane. They've invested 2, but they do get first blood. They managed to find a kill there in that top lane. It's the second that Zoranus goes back into that mini fall and they're able to take him down, there's no Fury to come through to actually able to threaten him. And from what I was previously saying, Nox makes the impossible happen and swings the game back in Fury's favour. It feels like he is, much like a Renata, bailed himself out of a rather poor situation. Ryoma, he's really got sketchy with that one. It really is as close as you could get. Summon Airy, or rather the Arcane Comet nearly being the difference maker there. But Roma doesn't auto-attack, he doesn't get aggro, and I think Chirp was banking on that. That is a man who knows his limits right there. Walks point blank into Chirp, tanks all of his damage, and knows that he'll still be alright to walk out. But you can see here, once again, he loses the Mega and just gets a little bit overconfident. He gets the double hop, but at that point, Tomasino is the one who's taking the turret, right? This is an incredibly tanky Udyr who is more than capable of eating these turret shots. So they managed to find something when realistically, the game was looking quite dire.
It certainly was looking quite dire, and it's a great way to make sure that this Udyr still remains relevant and that the Wukong can actually get themselves back into the fold of things, right? You need that Wukong to be able to step up, be aggressive, and assist the rest of the team in serving what should be a fair bit of damage. Now, we didn't really talk about it too much, but Hooper has actually gone for the lethal tempo, so looks like they are certainly leaning towards that more on-hit variation.
That is interesting, especially given this game state, right? Typically when you do go this lethal tempo, you're expecting to be able to kind of stand in the face of the enemy carries. At this point, given how far ahead this Orianna and Kalista are, I would say that's quite optimistic. I think that he's going to get absolutely machine gunned down by this Kalista, who is very, very far ahead of the curve at this point, and a second dragon secured as well. So not only are they demolishing the bot lane turret, but they're able to make good use of this priority to secure these dragons, right? They're able to snowball, able to be on pace for a 21-minute stall with this comp, as Swiper's looking for mid.
When he burned his flash for it last time, but this time he will not have the same luxury. A single command attack into a little bit of damage afterwards. And it's an easy pick up there for Ioma. And you already mentioned, right, how devastating this bot lane has been. Well, mid and jungle are certainly also emulating that same level of success. And you're starting to wonder, where do Fury come back into this one? If you're looking at the Udyr, it seems like a bit of a lost cause.
And that's the thing, where are they starting the fights? Because ideally you'd want to fight around these objectives, but so far, Antic have been very happy to sacrifice the objectives that Fury want to go for, as Nox is deep behind enemy lines here.
He does not want to be here, and beautiful scouting by Draco and a fantastic roam from bot to top, and he just goes, oh, I've tried to actually get a camp, and I've run into more members than I could escape from. So things really do get from bad to worse, and I suppose it just solidifies our previous point as to where does the strength come from, and is that point already passed?
That's the thing. I think if you are Fury in this case, you have to be looking at one of these next objectives and try to just pull the trigger on them, whether that be the Rift Herald spawning in a minute and a half or potentially a Dragon in the 3.5. But realistically, if you're letting this game go at the current pace that it is, you're just going to simply get outpaced, right? You're going to have this Kalista getting further and further ahead as Tomasino. That slow is crippling from the ult, but here goes the Fate's Call.
We might actually get to see the impossible happen, and Udyr finally fall victim to a Kalista as he auto-attacks as much as he can. Out comes the Rend, and there is that devastating effect of just instant damage to turn things around, and that really was the saving grace right now, that the Udyr could have been a relevant factor, could have been a stone wall to try and take down, but with that down as well, with the lane swaps in their favor too, you're starting to think that everywhere is screaming Antic W.
Yep, not when you're this far ahead, and the big thing that stands out to me, Skimmy, is look at the mid lane. There is absolutely no one answering Ryoma's push here. He's able to crash this wave. He's already 37 CS up on this Azir. And meanwhile, Zoranis is more than happy to hold this bot lane, right? You're trading essentially nothing for everything on the side of Fury here. They're going to attempt to dive, but he has Mega soon.
Yeah, it felt like a play that was never really going to take place here, and it just means the opportunity cost has passed you twice now, really, hasn't it, in terms of the vision has been revealed, we know exactly where you are, so Antic can continue to be aggressive. That is a Renata 1v1ing a Varus. I don't know what I'm watching right now, but it is Draco losing. I think he just lost his cool for a second. I think he got in his head a little bit too much of the flexing.
Yeah, I think Draco might have been a little bit overconfident there, not realizing that the Kalista ultimate was down, so not able to get out of dodge there, and that's just a little cheeky play there that's going to get a much-needed gold back into the pocket of this Varus, right? He is so far behind the curve of this game, but little kills like that can keep him in it, can keep him relevant alongside this Kalista, and that's exactly what you need at this point in the game.
Certainly is. You want to have a lot more economy as the on-hit Varus, right? But there goes the shockwave. Tomasino in trouble right now. He hits the ghost. Is it too little too late? Is there is the turtle, and Swipey's flashed, but he can't catch the Udyr. He wanted a twisted advance. He'll just give us a thumbs up.
That's got to be like 1 pixel off. That really has to hurt how close that was. Ryoma, you can see, just shredding this Udyr, who has only a single null magic mantle to dissuade this Orianna, who is now very fed, and they will turn their sights to the Rift Herald. They've got the Kalista pushing in top. They've got the ability to bring her down whenever they need to. This should just be a free objective going into the hands of Antic.
Well, fast approaching 15 minutes into this game, and there's already objective bounties to be claimed here by Fury, but that will be snuffed out as Antic. Not only have they got the Void Grubs, they've got the Dragons, and now they have the Herald. They can look to try and claim their second tower. as mid is fairly low. And Chirp, hearing those words, will say, we need gold. Any way we can acquire it. I'm just going to DPS this for a hot moment.
I want to see people drive the Herald into at least 2 towers this game, Skimmy. We only got 1 last game. I want to see 2 charges.
Me too. I want to see that level of confidence. And I feel like ANC are in a position to not necessarily be BM about it, but feel confident enough to take those gambles.
We need some drifting thing. You see Mickey X in the LEC absolutely just twirl the Rift Herald around the top bush.
No, I haven't watched that clip yet. But I do remember when people used to be really on the point of Scion drifting, how long you can make them go around the map for.
Yeah.
That was your ability to flex on your opponents. As we look to see a potential skirmish break out around the Dragon. That's up in 10 seconds. Infernal Soul to play for. In jumps Nox, he hits the 3-man Cyclone, goes berserk, and hits himself into his own demise. That is kill number 2 here for the Feds. Callista that continues to push on forward. There's a handshake as the Fates call knocks up Findo. And that is 2 easy kills to get a turret into a Dragon.
Yeah, I know that Fury needed Force of Flight, but that was about 3 postcodes too deep going in there. He had absolutely no one to back him up there. Chirp unable to get into the backline too, and this kind of reeks of desperation from the side of Fury, right? They don't want to give up this Dragon. They know they need to fight, but they just mis-execute. And on the back of that, it will be the capitalization from Antic. They have the Callista Renata to chase you down, and this game goes from bad to worse.
Let's see what happens to the replay initially. It's just Nox scanning out information, but gets dragged into the fight and says, all right, well, if I see 3 people, this is just too juicy of an opportunity to pass up on.
Yeah, he goes really far, but Hooper's hitting mid-wave and Chirp's being slowed by Maokai Sapling, so no one's actually able to get into the effective range to make this a fight worth taking, and Zoranus TP's in at the end to just make sure that absolutely nothing will come of it.
You can see right now, Zoranus is taking on the 1v1, but Nox soon to arrive. He's going to try and make that a 1v2. He's going to try and bop and block himself out of harm's way as the shockwave comes in. And it does a fair amount of damage that Roma surely now just picks up 2 as easy as you like it. There it is. The double kill with the team ready to back him up. They'll summon the Herald and they'll break that 3rd outer.
All right, here we go, Skimmy. This is the first one here from Swiper.
Yeah. Oh, put the camera back up to top lane. That's all we're interested in right now. There it is.
Thank you.
Come on. Look,
we need the European crowd. We need them to chant. Whoa!
Hey! That's when you need chat to respond in real time to it. They'll catch this in a few moments' time. But that is this. A double kill into a double tower. Would you believe it?
Yeah, massive gold swing there, right? They use the fact that Ryoma has the teleport advantage. But speaking of teleports, Chirp wants to make something happen with his.
What, he's just TP'd in? Can he hit the Emperor's Divide? Or will he die before it even happens? He's hit it, but it's done absolutely nothing. Swipe has picked up the kill. Out goes the Cheddar Corruption. There's the hostile takeover to try and make it a little bit more even. Oh, look at that. King gets pounced upon by Nox, but he does not care. He finds the double. He flashes over, hunting for more, and he looks down Hoopus, since I didn't get a kill in the laning phase, but here is the triple. There is the ace. That is Antic domination.
Make it stop, Skimmy. It is 18 minutes into this game, and it is already signed, sealed, and delivered a win in the favor of Antic. Zoranus isn't even there for that fight. It's that dominant. So it starts off with the TP from Chirp. He's trying to kind of Shurima shuffle Ryoma in, but gets rooted up, so crucially not able to use his movement until the very end, at which point Ryoma reacts with the flash, and then this Callista is so fed, she just walks into Wukong point blank and kills it.
And that should be a concern in any other game, but not for this one. Literally tanks up the ultimate, laughs and flashes to continue being aggressive. I mean, this game really has, from start to finish, signed, sealed, and delivered, as you say.
No, not again.
Out of the replay and into the action again, and that is honestly, I don't even need a whole breaker, but I'll still hit these big ultimates. I mean, Nox, I think, had a real reality check this game that if a level 1 strategy pays off, you just do not get to play the game.
He's just had horrible luck walking to camps this game. He walks his first clear, none of them are up. He walks now. There's a Zoranus in Mega form that just throws you into a wall and kills you. It's very hard to play from this far behind, and really, there's a Baron up in 40 seconds. There's a Dragon Soul up in 2 minutes. Chirp will get a little gold back, but really at this point, when you're 10k down in 19 minutes, it is beyond recovery.
Well, that really is the point, isn't it? The writing has certainly been on the wall for a good few moments right now. 5 kills on both your carries. Even the Magi is now picked up here by Roma. 10 stacks completed. He knows how strong he is in this game. These shockwaves have had devastating consequences, and you can see that they're battling to have the most gold in the game, nearly at 10,000 gold. The only body near would be Chirp at 7.
Yeah, it's all in the pockets of these carries right now. You can see the Ryoma sitting on 200 CS, 3 items completed, a little bit of Medjai's to boot as well. He is absolutely monstrous at this point, and realistically, there's a little bit of magic resist, but not that much at all. You can see the one shockwave into the enemy team would basically one-shot every single carry on the side of Fury, so now it's going to be up to an absolute miracle for Fury to get back into this one.
This many items, this strong at only 20 minutes in, really does feel like the game you absolutely crave as a pro player to have on a stage game, right? You can really flex your ability, all the hours you put into solo queue. But to have a game like this on stage, I'm sure, is something a little bit special. The question now becomes, how do Antic decide to close this one out? Do they go for the classic, we'll start at the Baron and bait you in? Or do they decide to be a little bit more elegant with it as they look to control all 3 lanes at once?
I think if you're Antic here, you'd probably head towards the Soul first, just because the fact that Fury won't be able to really do the Baron without you getting there in time, but there is a chance that if you do the Baron first, they can steal the Soul. So I think that's what they're looking at towards now, with Zoranus pushing out this bot lane and with the way that they've placed their wards. They want to secure this Dragon, they want to secure this Soul, and then put the bow on the game.
Seems to be the case. 15 seconds left. Infernal Soul, still arguably the best one to acquire. And in a game state like this, I think you are just rubbing your hands in glee, thinking, how could we get this lucky? Fury, or Nox in particular, I should say, is going to check out that Baron and say, no, they've not gone for it. So he might just get soloed by Ryoma. A single ultimate, he's down to half. The Baron nearly kidding him with his spit. But ultimately, it is going to be the Dragon that they'll play towards, and they've really baited out Fury's anticipation.
He's going to develop a conditioned fear response to brushes after this game. He's not going to be face checking any single one. Every time he walks in, bad things happen. And the fact that, you know, this is the Wukong, this is the guy who's meant to be at the front line of your team to provide space for the rest of your comp, the fact that he's going down so quickly does not bode well.
So it doesn't bode well, and I think as far as things go in terms of thinking ahead to series number 2, I think there will be a degree of PTSD running through his mind as to how did it all go so pear-shaped, and what can we look to try and change up? Because we talk about draft adaptations and sort of just knee-jerk picks. Would not be surprised to try and deny away the Maokai as well. We had 5 jungle bans. Maybe we need a few more.
Maybe we do. I mean, it just looks like too much for the side of Fury here. You can see that this Baron, it's kind of a whenever we feel like it for the Antic at this point. They can shove these waves out, they can clear the vision. The one thing about this team is their experience provides them a degree of precision in terms of the way they prep for this Baron, right? They know they're not just going to go walk up and start it as Findo.
He nearly just got 3 hit by King's Ballista. That is absolutely absurd right there. Out goes the Fate's Call, knocks up 2. There's the Nature's advance to knock them all in place, or root them rather. And it's an easy picking to take down 2 more. They're just having a field day. I mean, really, they are left to their own devices. It feels a little bit like a solo game, but then they realize we're actually as a team, because you just got Zoranus AFK pushing waves.
Yeah, they are able to do their own thing. Wherever they go on the map, they end up winning, as the redemption isn't even going to hit from Findo there. But to my previous point, Antic is a team that are very willing to take the necessary steps, right? They are so far ahead in this game. There's like a 99% chance they can just start that Baron and they end up taking it down. But instead, they push their vision line forward. They make sure they take Nox out, turn that 99% to 100%, and that's really feeling like their chance to win this game.
You saw they even Ryoma trying to get a cheeky solo kill topside there, but Chirp quickly dodges out of harm's way. I was almost anticipating the snapback as he tries to shroom a shuffle into safety, but the snapback into reality with a massive one-shot on his head. But on this occasion, lucky to avoid it. I suppose if you talk about some of the item spikes, there's probably a point in which Super says, maybe I'm able to try and be competitive with King. But then you take stock of the rest of the map and says, but I can't take anybody else.
That's the thing, right? Yeah, like the items don't look too bad. I mean, he is almost down to full 1 compared to the AD carry, but here goes Swiper.
Swiper's jumped in and showcased just how tanky he is. Look how many times he got knocked up, bounced around, and chucked in. But he still lives. 20%, even with a piercing arrow. He does not care. His job was to survive, and he's done that beautifully.
He's got the Spirit Visage as well, right? So he gets a couple autos up with his passive. You can see King in the camera just absolutely having a fantastic time. And why wouldn't you be when you're this Kalista, right? The world is your oyster at this point. You can push these waves in with Baron while Zoranus hits that mid wave. And Fury, they're going to have to do something eventually as the Shockwave.
The Shockwave onto 2 nearly just lights out to both Findo and Hoover. That bot lane nearly just evaporated on a screen. I mean, that in its own is impressive, but now completely opens the floodgate to say your base no longer belongs to you. 2 inhibitors, we'll be taking that.
2 inhibitors will be the cost of that massive shockwave. Now, the question is whether they continue to push. There are low HP bars on King and Draku, so like before, they take the 100% play. They decide we're not going to risk it. We're not going to needlessly risk things. And for a team that's up 15-2 to be this disciplined, to be this respectful of their opponents, just speaks to the experience of these players.
It certainly does, and it speaks rather very much reminiscent of their series into Grand Zero. Even when they were down and behind, when it reached this late game point, they just had to keep waiting for that one opportunity, that one mistake, that one slip up from their opposition, and they were ready to capitalize on it. And in this occasion, right, playing from ahead, they realized that, look, we could definitely look to be a little bit cheeky and look to, throw a few members down for the greater cause, but we don't want that. We want a clean, methodical game. And I suppose also it's about sending a message, because game 2 was certainly a little bit carnage-wise as well. The shockwave this occasion doesn't connect. He's just going to die to auto attacks.
Ryoma does not care. He just flashes the wall. For a 1-in-7 Wukong, why not? That sounds like a good trade to me. It's only a 30-second death timer, but that should be all the time that Antic needs to crack this base open. The Nature's Grasp going to find this Udyr.
And good night to Thomas Dinner again. 40 seconds for him to figure out what they look to try and do in game 2, because they need a serious turnaround here, Max. It's 26 minutes in, 17 kills to 2, and it looks like Antic are trying to hit a 20k gold lead.
Yeah, and it's looking like they might get there, Skimmy. With these last 2 turrets, they still have waves pushing in every single lane. Super's coming in now. There's no Cyclone available for this Wukong.
They can't do much. They have to watch their base fall into ruins as those Nexus towers fall on down. Same fate may soon be falling upon the members of Fury inside their base. There's no sanctuary. It is devastation. 20 kills to 2. This has been the most dominating performance of the entire split.